Hello guys. This is Real Recaps. In this video, I would talk about a 2022 American black comedy slasher film, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Before we start, I hope you guys will like and subscribe to the channel. The film opens with Sophie and Bee kissing passionately. They have a romantic afternoon together where Sophie tells Bee that she loves her, but Bee never replies. The two are headed out for a party during an incoming hurricane at the home of Sophie's childhood friend, David. Sophie and her friends are wealthy, while Bee comes from an Eastern European town and has a job. Before entering the mansion, Bee returns to the car to retrieve a present and accidentally leave a light on the mirror. Upon arriving at the house, Bee makes herself acquainted with the place before Sophie introduces her to others, including David, his girlfriend, Emma, Alice, and her older boyfriend, Greg, and Jordan. The rest of the group seems surprised to see Sophie since she didn't tell them that she's coming, but Sophie insists that she told them in group chat. Bree gives David the present, a zucchini bread, while Greg shows an impressive trick of opening champagne bottle with a sword. They also had another guest, Max, but he left the night before after a fight with David. As Sophie and Bree passionately making out, David appears and asks Sophie to talk privately in a room. He brings up how Sophie was in rehab for her drug addiction, and David questions why she has shown up. They also talk about their being uncomfortable with Alice having brought Greg, as they know little about him and with him being much older. When she asks him about his black eye, he tells her that Max hit him over something. Meanwhile, Jordan tells Bee to be careful around Sophie. The group hangs out and gets drunk and high, leading to them partying. When Sophie watches Jordan dances closely with Bee, she proposes that they play a game of bodies, bodies, bodies. The objective is for the players to draw papers to see who is picked as the killer, but they have to keep it a secret. When the lights turned off, the killer will start killing by touching someone's back, while others hide. Before the actual game starts, they play a mini game where they have to take shots and slap each other. It is Bee's turn to slap David, but she hits too weak. David demonstrates by using the opportunity to hit Greg hard, causing the other girls to react in shock. They then turn the light off, signaling the actual game. Bee walks around in the darkness with her phone on and tries to hide before someone yelling bodies, bodies, bodies. The lights turn on and Greg is seen as the victim. At first, it appears as though Greg might actually be dead, but he was just faking after David taps him in the nuts. As everyone starts arguing on who the murderer is, Greg gives his opinion about it. David starts antagonizing Greg, leading to him saying he is going to bed. Afterward, while trying to figure out who the killer is, David suggests Emma. Things get tense when Alice blurts out that Emma talked about her relationship with David and how they never have sex. David gets angry and starts berating Emma, which lead him to be voted out as murderer. He smashes something before storming off. The girls continue to party until the power goes out at the house. Bee goes into the bathroom and on her way, finds David stumbling against the glass door with his throat having been slit. The other girls run outside to his aid, but he dies. They have no signal to call for help, so they run towards the car, but finds the car runs out of battery. They run back into the house and fear that there is an actual killer among them, with Jordan finds the sword as murdering weapon. They suspect Max or Greg, as they both had motives against David. It is revealed that Max confessed that he loves Emma, which is why he fought David. Alice protests, but the others force her to look for Greg. Jordan arms herself with a cleaver. They also find that Emma is missing. The girls go to Alice's room and go through Greg's luggage. They find a knife as well as a map, with the house's location circled on it. They go to Jordan's room and find Emma hides under the blanket. The girls eventually find Greg in the house's gym, where he was sleeping and had headphones in. They question him about the items in his bag, but he claims they are for Hurricane. They accuse him of killing David, but he thinks it's a gag until he ends up grabbing a knife off one of them. The group agrees to put their weapons down, but a struggle occurs when Emma jumps on Greg's back. When he tries going for the knife again, Bee bashes his head with a kettlebell weight, killing him. The girls end up in an argument whether Greg is actually a killer or not. Tensions continue to run high. Alice brings up Max as the killer since he punched David, but Emma defends him. Sophie gets involved, insulting Emma, and makes her run off. Meanwhile, Bea is seen cleaning up and change her clothes. Sophie and Emma later encounter each other in the kitchen again, where Sophie apologizes to Emma, who responds by kissing her. Sophie is put off and just gives her a bag of pills. Later on, Alice walks through the dark and comes across Emma, dead at the bottom of the stairs after a nasty fall. They speculate that someone pushed her off the stair. The girls stay together in a room and continue to blame each other. Alice thinks the murders follow the pattern of the game, but her theory gets rebuffed by Jordan. Alice and Jordan turn their attention to Bea, after seeing her in makeup, believing that she has been lying to Sophie about who she is, because they looked her up and saw that she didn't graduate from Utah State, as she previously said. Alice and Jordan think Bea is the killer, so they force her out of the house into the pouring rain, with Sophie just sitting there in silence. Bea tries to find a way back inside, but all the doors are locked. She seeks shelter in the car, and finds underwear that matches Jordan's bra. She returns to the house and sees that Jordan has a gun with her, through a window. Bea eventually makes her way inside, by crawling through a pet door. Bea confronts the girls, and tries to warn Sophie about Jordan's gun. Jordan clears out her pocket, and a piece of paper with an X falls out of Jordan's bag, meaning she was the killer for the game. Bea then explains herself to Sophie and says that she went to Utah State for 1 semester and does work at the store she mentioned, but the one thing she kept from Sophie was that she was taking care of her mother, who has a borderline personality disorder. Jordan then draws her gun on Sophie and Bea, thinking Bea is just lying. Another argument ensues, where Jordan tells Bea that she and Sophie had sex before they got to the house, and she also criticizes Sophie for playing the victim because of her drug addiction and a stint in rehab. Sophie then says out loud that Jordan is always talking crap about Alice because she hates her and her podcast. As Alice begins making a fuss, Jordan shoots her in the leg. The girls struggle for the gun, and Jordan ends up accidentally shooting Alice through the head. Sophie attempts to take Jordan's gun as they walk up the stairs, with Jordan aims the gun at her. Bea jumps onto Jordan, who attempts to fire at them. In the struggle, Bea throws Jordan over the banister, where she falls and is impaled by broken glass bottles. With her dying breaths, Jordan tells Bea to check Sophie's texts before she begins firing wildly into the air. Sophie and Bea hide, and Bea has become distrusting of Sophie. She goes somewhere else in the house to hide. When the morning comes, Bea walks around and sees the dead bodies lying everywhere. She goes outside and is found by Sophie, who tearfully tells her that she gave Emma pills and says that she tripped and fell down the stairs, and Sophie feels responsible. Bea takes the gun from Sophie and points it at her, telling her to show her the texts on her phone. Sophie throws her phone and the two begin to fight for it before falling into the pool. When Bea gets out, she finds David's phone instead. They unlock it and find a TikTok on his phone where he attempted to use the sword to open a champagne bottle because he saw Greg do the same. David had accidentally slit his own throat doing the stunt, meaning there was never a killer and everyone died for nothing. Moments later, Max returns to the house and asks Sophie and Bea what happened. Bea then notices she finally has reception on her phone. The end. Thanks for watching.